Is Algorand just getting started? And no, it's actually not about the price only, even though I'll talk about that later, an almost 10% recovery in the past 24 hours. But it's actually in regard to a recent statistic that Algorand posted, and it's actually about how ever since its launch, it has had a total of zero downtime, which I think could very well be such a good catalyst for it moving forward, especially when it comes to potential developers and maybe partners. And let me explain what I mean by this, even though nothing I say is financial advice, and even though I am not telling anyone to do anything. If we think about it, zero downtime ever since its launch, we got to think about this. The mainnet launched over half a decade ago, basically over 5 years ago, and ever since then, zero downtime. Take a look at, for instance, what's happening to Sui. Sui's having this downtime, right? I mean, sure, they're trying to fix it and all this, and I'm pretty sure it's going to improve a lot moving forward, but I'm saying still, Algorand, we just haven't seen those issues, allegedly. Not to mention, this does give a strong signal, in my opinion, and a good indicator for potential developers and partners moving forward, because by showcasing those statistics and it actually being hypothetically the case and being true, that right there does signify, in my opinion, to a lot of potential developers and partners that, hey, you know what? We're reliable. We don't have any sort of downtime. And if we think about a lot of other projects out there that really want to be focused on AI, that really want to be focused on, being a part of that wave, if that were to come when it comes to this space, if they're so focused on that, they have to focus on the fundamentals first. They have to focus on the infrastructure, so to speak. Algorand, it doesn't really need to fix its core infrastructure because we already know it's reliable, evidently seen as how it's had a total of zero network outages ever since its launch, basically. That's really impressive, in my opinion. Now, granted, people like to say, but yeah, developers don't care about that. Well, I think they do. Developers, especially when it comes to the space of AI, they want something that's reliable. AI allegedly does use a lot of energy. So we think about Algorand, not only has it had zero downtime ever since its launch, but we do know that Algorand is allegedly carbon neutral. So that right there really does play into the narrative of creating this environment, so to speak, for potential AI developers moving forward. We'll wait and see what happens though, but at least the environment is there, at least the infrastructure is there. A lot of other projects out there say they're focused on AI, but how? Right? They don't really explain because the infrastructure isn't there. They maybe can't really handle it. That's the thing. It's like telling someone you want to go off-roading with a Ferrari from the 1980s. How does that make sense? I mean, a Ferrari is not usually, in my opinion, built for off-roading. That's the thing. There's a different car for that, right? Probably a Jeep, like a Jeep Wrangler or a Jeep Gladiator or something like that. So yeah, besides that point, when I take a look at, in the case of Algorand, the infrastructure is there. The core sort of principles are there to allow for better AI adoption moving forward. We haven't really seen Algorand be a top destination for AI projects yet, maybe. But again, if Algorand now being more and more recognized for its security, as evidently seen, being the third most mentioned blockchain in Google's quantum paper, combined with how, again, now Algorand is being more known for its reliability. If this is the start, maybe, of what hypothetically could very well be mass-scale AI adoption for Algorand moving forward, it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever because we already know that AI is a really big narrative when it comes to stocks. This space is still waiting though. It hasn't seen that type of AI wave like what we've seen in the case of stocks. But if we do see that wave, Algorand is waiting right there. That's the thing. That's why, if this was hypothetically just a quote-unquote start, it wouldn't surprise me. Now, of course, people like to say, take a look at the price though, an almost 10% recovery in the past 24 hours. Yes, I'm aware of that. But this is kind of a breath of fresh air when it comes to me, at least, because Algorand has been down for quite a while. It's been really boring, a lot of people like to say. So this has been a breath of fresh air. We're seeing a lot of altcoins as of right now have a slight recovery, which is really impressive considering how Bitcoin is still below 80 grand. But again, you know what? I'm not going to complain. I'm still holding though. I'm still waiting. And I think moments like this truly does highlight why I never try to find the perfect moment, if that makes sense. Because if you asked me 24 hours ago, would there be any way I would know that this would happen? No, right? There's no way I can try to figure out all this because no matter what I do on a price chart, I draw some random triangles, the market's going to do whatever it wants to do. And I think, again, this moment kind of does highlight for me that there is an importance there in being patient and just waiting and anticipating. That's the thing. It's like, for instance, let's say I build a cheeseburger restaurant at a certain town or a certain city. Maybe the wave when it comes to cheeseburgers hasn't really set in a make-believe scenario. But if it does, at least I'm prepared. I already have the restaurant, I already have the kitchen, I already have the register, I already have, all this in place to catch the wave later. So that's why I like to just wait, hold, and that's it. And even despite that though, if we take a look at Algorand as of right now, it's slightly below 13 cents, which a lot of people like to say, yeah, but this slight recovery, it's still bad though. Well, here's my response to that. Yes, I agree, we're still kind of down by quite a significant amount when compared to last year and the year before. But we have to think about this. Are low prices, so to speak, quite necessarily a bad thing? I don't really think about it that way, given my current perspective, because if I think about it just in a logical perspective, even with this around almost 10% recovery, again, Algorand is still below 13 cents, but we have to consider back in January, not January of this year, by the way, January of last year, so in 2025, did you know that Algorand was almost at 50 cents? Almost, right? So we're thinking about how we're over 3 times lower than that. Kind of ridiculous, even as of right now. It kind of showcases just how low Algorand has been for quite a while. Because even with this around 10% recovery, we're still over 3 times lower than where we once were just last year. But I don't complain though, and I don't want to, because to me, I don't view low prices as a negative thing, because I'm looking to dollar cost average. Now, this is just my mindset, right? I'm not telling anyone to do anything, but I'm saying still, other individuals out there are looking to exit. In some other cases, some are looking to enter, hypothetically. It depends, right? Depends on the frame of mind. Like, let's say many, many years ago, were a lot of people exiting the S&P 500? I'm pretty sure some were, but some were entering. That's the thing. And we saw the S&P 500 reach a new all-time high this year. I'm just saying. So when I take a look at in the case of low prices, sure, it could be viewed as a negative thing, but try asking the people who believed in the S&P 500 like decades ago if they thought low prices in hindsight were a bad thing. They would probably say no. They'd probably say, wow, it's pretty fantastic. But I kind of think about it a little bit no different, actually, because I kind of feel like, okay, it's a different market, but the same principle kind of applies to me. I don't mind low prices. That's the thing. Now, am I trying to find the perfect moment? No. Again, I'm just dollar cost averaging like once a month and just doing it incrementally over a period of time. But anyways, by doing that, I'm just holding, right? So in case the market were to recover, I kind of go along hypothetically automatically because I'm just holding, I'm just waiting. I'm not trying to find the perfect moment, but that's my mindset currently. However, I'm not telling anyone to do anything. I'll be sure to make more updates though moving forward. It's Mali the Captain, and I want to say thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.